guys. Guys. Hang on, guys. Okay, guys, hang on. Oh my god. This is the first time. Hello, Facebook. There you go. And hello, my YouTube channel. Okay, guys. This is the first time that I'm doing my, what's this? First time that I'm doing together the Facebook live and live stream on my YouTube channel. It's Pretty Gardener, guys. And that song entitled From the Start by Miss Saigon. Of course, original Miss Saigon is Lea Salonga. Rachel Ango. Okay, guys. Hello, Facebook. Can I please get a thumbs up if you can hear me? What about YouTube? Okay, guys. I can't see. It's a bit far. Okay. My gosh. I have the energy to do it today. And a quick outline. Because as you know, guys, I am a mind control victim, right? Okay, I will do my because I have Facebook, I have YouTube. Okay, I will do my proper introduction. My name is Pearly Gardiner, of course. I'm a targeted individual since birth, awakened. I don't know which one to look. Awakened 20 months, guys, and counting. I am a victim of organized gang stalking, electronic harassment, and I am a mind control victim. Okay, so I'm just going to share with you my experiences as a mind control victim, and it is mind-boggling when you know what they're doing to you, when you experience what they're doing to you, because I'm their guinea pig, right? So unbelievable the methods, the patterns that they use. Okay, and I'm going to share with you the 4 ways how to defeat their multi-trillion um, dollar supercomputer. That's by DoD Whistleblower Brian, guys. Okay? So, but segue, thank you to Senator Pauline Hanson. I got my Australia Day card, guys. So, to all the Australian Sydney-siders, yeah, how many more days? Today is the 9th. Technically, it's the 10th, so 16 days more. Be safe, guys, and I don't know if it's double demerits on that day, but be safe. Okay, now I'm going to discuss first. The first one is multitasking. Okay, I'm going to share with you my experience earlier when I get to that, the third one, I think, or the second one, okay? Okay, so this one is from DOD whistleblower Brian Chu. He's also a targeted individual mind control victim. Any set of brain waves can be remotely captured, held, and perpetually replayed in the victim's brain. Okay, it was published on December 16, 2018. Okay, so in the United States, yeah, it's the CIA and the DOD. So in Australia, this is just my guess, but of course I know. In Australia, the DIO and the SCO, the Department of Intelligence Organization, Defense Intelligence Organization, and the Australian Security Intelligence Organization are using fabricated or falsified stream of energy to interfere with your memory and thought process. Once you become dependent, you believe their impulse injections are your own. So earlier, guys, I think I think my hive mind team and my handler are just trying to tell me what is impulse injections, because I was at the court yesterday, earlier this afternoon, yeah, yesterday technically, because it's already the 10th, and I did post it on my Facebook. I said there, or I posted it that impulse injection. So maybe they're just trying to tell me, that what, because what happened when I was at the court, Paramata court with Evolve Housing, what happened was this perp, he was pointing his mobile, and he's pointing his mobile is going through, once they have your brain frequency, your brain wave, yeah, your brain signature. Once they have that, they can play with you. They can give you impulses like itchiness, coughing, yeah. And this is not just according to Scott Hensler, to DOD whistleblower Brian Q, to most especially to the retired whistleblower Royal Navy himself, Barry Trower. He's a scientist himself. He knows the technology. And at the same time, he's a retired MI5 agent as well. You know, these whistleblowers with credibility. So that's why I used the word impulse earlier, because I was about to cough. I just sat and he sat next to me and and the perp was playing. I didn't take a photo because I don't take photo and record when I'm inside the court, okay? Just in case. So that's I did not. So and then he was it was a male perp. Yeah, he was playing and he's pointing it to me already. It's pointed to me because we like one seat apart. Okay, one seat apart. That's how close. Yeah, and I was about to cough. I already felt the itchy in my throat and said, oh, I'm gonna cough. I'm gonna. That's why I left and I walked away, far away from his mobile phone. Unbelievable, these evil people. Okay, so that's why I use that impulse injections. But now I read through the notes that I wrote from DoD Whistleblower Brian. I think the impulse injections, this is with more on mind control, not more on those impulses like itchiness, but they can do that too. I don't know what's the term for that. I'll get back to you on that. Okay, guys, so okay, let me continue what I started. Left off where? Okay. So example, you believe their impulse injections are your own on the system's output, or they believe your responses to it are consistent. They will begin to fabricate and subconscious responses, which they will pretend are indicators of honesty or dishonesty. They will like positive recognition anxiety, and they will use these impulse injections to convince you that the fabricated responses are your own. And that's what happened to me tonight, last night, when I went to pick up my girls. But I have to wait until I get to the third what's this, how to defeat the technology, the supercomputer. So if you are unaware of this constant mental manipulation, the system will begin to shape your thoughts and behavior. Unbelievable. This is mind-boggling to know what they're doing to you and what they're experimenting on my brain. Unbelievable. They will use this to attempt to restrict your thoughts and behavior by blocking which what they did earlier to me. Blocking, interfering with your memory and thought process while these suggestions, injected impulses, that's what they did, are being provided. The interference is triggered and can be activated at will by the attackers. So, like that guy that I was saying, those gang stalkers. Because remember, guys, without organized gang stalking, without the gang stalkers, there is no mind control. Okay? Because gang stalkers, I did share with you last time, they're there for verification process, okay? And a lot of things. Remote neural manipulation is different from remote neural monitoring, okay? Remote neural manipulation is accomplished via their system's ability to interpret your thoughts and is wholly dependent on its ability to predict and influence your reference choices. Okay, guys, when it says to predict your to predict and influence your reference choices, these are your choices. Like you go to the restaurant, which restaurants you go to, shopping mall, shopping center, yeah, those are your reference choices. Impulse sequencing during thought composition. Okay, I will. The first counter tactic how to defeat their technology. Number one is multitasking. What is multitasking? Learn how to multitasking causes you to think in multiple threads. When you are constantly thinking of multiple threads, multiple tasks or thoughts, then there is no coherent pattern for the perps to establish and integrate into the remote neural monitoring data. I think because lately I haven't been, like when I go out, I usually have my earphone all the time, and I think that's why I think that's why they're getting a lot of brain waves, brain frequencies, and what they did today when I was at the Parramatta station. Yeah, they know that I caught the train this morning. I caught the train because I had the early 9 o'clock appointment with Centerlink, and this homeless guy inside the in front of the train station in Parramatta caught my attention. So meaning to say, but when I did interviewed him, I already gauged it that he's a perp. Yeah, and these are the things that I have to avoid because remember DoD Whistleblower Brian who said, do not talk to you have to avoid talking long to perps, okay? And these are situational and conversational scenario by manipulation and deception. And I have to really train myself and think all the time when I am out, I am in a psychotronics camp, okay? That these are because see that's the Mandela effect. If you're a mind control victim, it is hard for you to gauge which one is real or not anymore. That's what happened. Like I always have to think on it, and I always get the last oh no no, it's on live baby. Sorry. Okay, please. Sorry guys. Otherwise they're gonna see you. Okay, I have to. Okay. Sorry guys. I have to close the window because Justine, my baby. Good night, babe. Sorry, guys. Sorry about the interruption. She's hearing my echo. I think it's, I think it's her AI. Wake her up. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. I hope it's not her AI. Okay. Moving on, guys. Sorry. See, that's what happened. Okay, going back. I was in Parramatta, yeah. I was in Parramatta today, and there was this guy with the homeless what's the signage that he's homeless. So I then I know that he's a perp, okay? I know that he was a perp, but then I still went on and talked to him and asked him. I recorded it and asked him, "Oh, are you how come you're homeless? Are you Australian citizen?" I said to him, and then he said, "Yes, I am an Australian citizen." And so you're eligible to get your, if you're homeless, like, pension. And then he goes, "Oh no, I don't." He said something like, "I don't get pension because I don't have an address. I am homeless." "I don't think so," I said to him, and then I handed him one of my flyers, and I said to him, "Well, I don't care if you're a gang stalker. I think you're just doing your drama here right now." So when I went to Centrelink, I asked the customer consultant at Centrelink the question, like, "Oh, can I ask you a question? Because I saw this guy, he's homeless, and he told me that he can't lodge an application for his pension because he got no address." And then the Centrelink consultant said to me, "No, he can. He can use a PO box, or he can even use the address of Centrelink." That's what she told me. So that's for me to confirm that 100% that he was a perp. Okay, it's all by, because they know I'll be in the area. Once the target is in the area, of course my handler will text whatever means of communication with his gang stalkers of, wear this, you have to wear this color, you have to do this, you have to walk by 3 by 2, blah blah blah, whatever they have to come up with their situational and conversational scenario. Because once you are a mind control victim, it comprises of what, two things, yeah, which is situational and conversational scenarios by manipulation and deception. Okay, so it caught my attention that I was like 50-50 if he was a perp or not. So that's why I went to talk to him, and then when he started saying that, "No, I don't have an address, that's why I cannot lodge or claim my pension." things like that. And he looked like, and he also looked like, he looked healthy. He got gold. Yeah, he was wearing gold necklace and stuff like that. So when I went to Centerlink, I'm gonna ask Centerlink about it. So that's when I confirmed that he was a perp. And now I have to remind myself every time I'm out, most especially Parramatta, Maryland's area, Cumberland area, that I am in a psychotronics camp, okay? Because I am a mind control victim. My handler, the hive mind team, consists of the neuroscientist, psychologist, psychiatrist, and the behavior psychologist. They have to come up all the time with stimulus, what will catch my attention. If you've watched my Facebook live earlier, I was having a late lunch at what's this terrific restaurant in Parramatta. While I was waiting for my order came. And then when I already had my order right in front of me, and that was the time that the perp came and sat next to me. And again, he was on his phone. Okay, and then I said to myself, no, I'm not going to eat yet. I'm going to wait until he gets his order. Because last time I was at that restaurant, I was harassed by a couple, young couple, female and male. I was with my mom at that time. And he pointed again, the lady pointed the mobile phone to me, and I coughed on my first spoon bite, and connecting the dots, okay? So, and that's what I did earlier. It's kind of like hard, but now when I am in this area, I have to be very, very careful. Guys, it sounds like science fiction, but it is science fact. You have to do your own research, okay? That's why if you are a mind control victim and you are not aware of it, that you are a mind control victim, man, you're doomed, because you are under direct behavioral control by the supercomputer. Okay, I'm gonna share with you later the video interview of Jeff Friends to DoD Whistleblower Brian Chu. It's very informative, guys. Okay, moving on. So, multitasking. Oh my God. Okay, where did I stop? Then there is no coherent pattern for the perps to establish and integrate into RNM data. Okay, there is no consistent pattern like with your. That's why they have to come up with. They have to do it multiple times, not only once. Yeah, because they have to establish one coherent pattern of my reaction. Yeah, and like what happened to me, one example was, let's say one example that I can give you was when I was doing my catalog delivery, right, in Maryland's. They removed the catalog, the magazines. I don't know if they're gonna do it this week again, because I'm going to do another 2 weeks with Luis. So what they did in Maryland's, they removed all the catalogs that I put in mailboxes, wherein there wasn't no, it says there, if no junk mail. There was no sign that it says no junk mail. Okay, and I know for sure that I have to put the magazines in those mailboxes, because I've been doing that for the last 6 months at that time. And then my handler sent to the hive mind team, my handler sent two perps and removed all the catalogs. And the first reaction I can remember was that I called my employer, my boss, and told her that I say the gang stalkers removed it. Okay, and just 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, yeah, I did the same catalog delivery in Parramatta, and they did the same thing again. Yeah, the perps, it was on my video, guys, on my Facebook live blog at that time, and they remove again. I did not call Luis at that time, so it's not coherent pattern. My reaction at that time, the second time they did it, I did not call my boss, because if I did call my boss, you will see that coherent pattern. It's consistent. My what's this? My reaction is consistent. Yeah, believable. That's why I did not call her. Yeah, but each of those reaction was already integrated back to the supercomputer. Okay? So that's what it means. Okay, guys, and okay, moving on. In other words, integration completion between the RNM system and your brain is hindered, and without your response to that specific impulse injection, the RNM verification process is breaks apart. See? If there's no coherent pattern, it breaks apart. That's good. Okay, guys, number two is I can't say the word is it's so hard, but the word is spontaneous. You have to be spontaneity, spontaneous. Okay, spontaneous means perform or occurring as a result of a sudden impulse or inclination. And wait a second. Oh my god, I got lots of YouTube comments, guys, but I can't read right now. And without premeditation or external stimulus. Okay. So, spontaneity, never follow a set pattern of conduct. Okay. Always change your behavior every day at a moment notice. Do this when you're quickly, not slowly. So that's what happened. On the move, as it is more difficult for the remote neural system to monitor your thoughts while in rapid motion. Okay, can I say something to this one? And I know my Hive Mind team, you're watching. You want verification from me because I am your guinea pig. Listen to this. So, what happened? Never follow a set of pattern of conduct. Always change your behavior every day at a moment notice. Do this when you're quickly, not slowly. And that's what happened to me earlier. I was driving so slow. I was thinking where to go. I was on Fulagar, and where are they? Because usually when I go and pick up Justine nighttime, usually I get my gang stalkers, my auto mobbing, yeah. But at that time, no one, not even one car, maybe one, just one car that. So when I was already on Fulagar at the roundabout, I slowed down driving. That means to say I don't know which route I will take, but I usually take the route going straight or turning right when it's nighttime. Yeah, Fulagar, turn right to the station street, or go straight to Fulagar and right turn to the next street. But what happened to me, because I was slowing down driving, I was thinking what to do, and that was I know that my active memory was hijacked by the supercomputer, yeah, and they've injected my falsified and fabricated memories, which was to turn left, okay, left to Station Street, to Great Western Highway, towards Great Western Highway, and that's what happened. Oh, unbelievable. Okay, but later I'll tell you why I know. I will tell you why I know and confirm that my active memory was hijacked, okay? And then they've injected the falsified and fabricated memories. Guys, fabricated and falsified memories means those are your thoughts in the past. Those are the things that you've done in the past that was already captured by the super computer, okay? It is already stored in that data. That's what it means. The synaptic emotional response that you had in the past. That's why it's fabricated. Okay. Okay, so moving on. If you decide to go to the grocery, go to the convenience store instead. Change it up every day, but don't do the same things over and over, as that establishes a set of pattern. Okay? Unbelievable. Remember, there are three things, censorship. That means to say, there are three things. This base, okay, if you are a mind control victim, I have to start it with this. Not all mind control victims are targeted individual. Not all targeted individual are mind control victims. But there are targeted individuals that at the same time mind control victims like myself. Okay? So this is a trauma-based mind control. Okay? If you are a TI and at the same time mind control victim, it is based on three things: censorship, memory management, and direct behavioral control. Okay, guys. Censorship is that when if my handler hive mind team wants to censor me, they have to do the electronic harassment on me, things like that. And then I will just feel so weak and stuff like that. And because the more, if you don't do outdoor activities, okay, there's no interaction outdoor, you're not doing your grounding, things like that, the more that they can access your brain and stuff like that. That's censorship. And then memory management, these are the statistic response statistic that they already have, which means to say in every stimuli, situational, conversational scenario that they've done to me during my synthetic world, yeah, they already have that stored in their RNM data. Yeah, memory management, all of my synaptic emotional response. And then after that, the next one is direct behavioral control. That's when you don't know how to read your active memory. Okay? They already have direct behavioral control over you, most especially if they've taken your free will. My God. You know what I mean? So they just do whatever, like they have whatever they want to inject in your brain or your falsified memories. Like my Justine, my daughter. I have to whisper. Justine, she watched the Marvel 7 or 9 times. Unbelievable. I only watch movie once, never twice in the cinema. Anyway, okay, guys. Okay, moving on. They are trying to alter your daily motives and emotional perceptions. See? That's what that's what they want to happen to me, remember? They want to reverse engineer my will, emotion, and intellect. Yeah? They think hive mind team, remember you thought that I'm going to become an atheist because I found out that most of these Jehovah's Witnesses that I had friendship with were actually all fake Jehovah's Witnesses, and you think I'm going to curse the Bible. Yeah? They are trying to alter your daily motives and emotional perceptions. And you want me to hate all the people, all these celebrities that I like, I love, all these politicians that I love. One thing that probably you reverse engineer was with Pauline Hanson, Senator Pauline Hanson before. Yeah, I haven't done research about Agenda 21 at that time, and also about Senator Pauline Hanson. I don't like her. I didn't like her. I said she's so racist. She's very racist with Asian people. Yeah, during my synthetic world. I think that was the time. That was the only thing I guess that you engineered. Because I like Senator Pauline Hanson now. Yeah, based on based on the research I've done on the Agenda 21. Yeah, One Nation Party is the only political party that is not enabler in supporting Agenda 21, this UN foreign policy. Anyway, moving on, because sidetracked. The remote neural monitoring system is designed to provoke you emotionally so they can generate response statistics. There you go. Which the system will use to determine how to interpret and link descriptions with data captured about your memory references. That is why they are constantly trying to keep you talking. You know what? Because I never listened to I never listened to Sir Brian Chu. I have to listen to him because I talk a lot when I'm out. And you know what, like, I think because the reason why when I'm out I don't use earphone anymore, which I have to do. When I am out I have to have my headphone and listen to Christian song or love songs. The reason why I think is that because I'm confident enough that I can read active memory. That's why I think, and I am confident enough that it's my will. I have my free will. Yeah. So that's why I'm not eating KFC anymore. The hive mind team cannot inject that back. I'm not drinking Coke, Pepsi anymore. Okay. Krispy Kreme I don't eat anymore unless my daughter Justine buys and I will, but I don't. I don't even buy, when she buys. I eat, So those are the things, yeah. So they cannot, because I have my free will. I have the willpower. That's why I think when I go out, I don't have my headphone and I don't listen to music anymore. But still have to do that, okay? Okay, guys, moving on. Um, that is why they are constantly trying to keep you talking. Because when you do the conversational scenario with these gang stalkers, they're trying to get also trigger words, okay? Trigger words. Remember the trigger words that they use with me was I will call the police. That triggered me a lot of times. And when I heard Sir Brian choose about discussing about about trigger words, that was when I realized, damn, so that was the trigger word, I will call the police. so so I remember when I was doing my house to house, I was doing my house to house, what's this, public awareness, yeah. This perp, she said to me, I will call the police if you're not, you have to leave now, I will call the police. So when she said that, at that time I know already about trigger words. I did not react at all. I did not I wasn't irritated, I wasn't angry, yeah. But before, I didn't know. That was when I realized, damn, that was my trigger word, I will call the police. That's why these gang stalkers, like today, in Paramata at Westfield, I know they're gang stalkers. Yeah. I was at Priceline. This middle-aged lady. Oh, that candle is, that candle is $5. Yeah, this they got two left, and because I like the one that is got no box. And then she said to me, oh, I think that's used, they're not selling that. So that was a quick interaction conversation, because I know she's a perp, yeah. So I didn't like prolong chatting with her. So so okay, that's what I do. I know, handler, I know, okay. Even your street theater with that homeless, the homeless, tattoo, gold. He got necklace, gold, ring, gold. My God. But anyway, it caught my attention. Okay, moving on, guys. Always ignore prolonged, see? Always ignore prolonged random encounters with people you don't know. You're not being rude, just refusing to allow them to manipulate you. Once they have consistent statistics, the system will use previous choices, references, and inject them into your subconsciousness. Subconscious. Any set of brainwaves can be remotely captured, held, and perpetually replayed in the victim's brain. See, that's what happened to me. Yeah, they've hijacked my active memory. They've injected my fabricated, falsified memory. That's why I turned left and I slowed down driving. And that was very effective, Hive Mind team, because there were no cars. Usually when I go out, I get, oh, come on, 10 gang stalkers auto mobbing. But tonight, when I went to pick up Justine and my girls, because Sharon was with her perp friend, yeah, close to Pendle Hill. So yeah, that's what happened. Anyway, I will tell you what happened, why I know that, I know why I confirm and verify that, that my active memory was hijacked. I will tell you later the story why. Okay, is the second one, subconscious thought during normal activity, which is also referred to as impulse injections. Okay, that's the impulse injections now. To convince you that the response was your own and influence you to complete or describe the reference by making the appropriate verbalizing or performing a related action, which is known as verification. You can fight and or control this if you learn to defeat their memory attacks by learning to read active memory. See, that's where I failed. Yeah, that's why I did not. Anyway, once they see what you respond to emotionally or intellectually, they will fabricate conversational or situational scenarios, street theater, okay? Based on events or topics they know will capture your attention. Mm. I will give you an example. Today, okay, I was at SES. It is a clothing shop, okay, inside Westfield. And there was this old lady, middle-aged lady, maybe she's in her early 60s. Hi, my team handler, you're watching, listening, yeah. And I was looking at those dresses, like, like I was looking because it's summer dress. And then the perp old lady said to me, mm, I don't like that because you have to iron it. Guys, I love ironing. My mom is ironing. Now, my mom is back in the Philippines, so I'm the one doing the ironing. So, and then I said to myself, no chance, perp. I'm not going to talk to you. So I just walk away. So and pretend that didn't hear her. That's what they do. Okay. What else? Okay, once they see what you respond to emotionally or intellectually, they will fabricate conversational situational scenarios. Like what happened with the homeless, yeah? Because they know I have a heart. They know I posted on my Instagram about homeless people, yeah? There was this article on Daily Mail in Queensland wherein a homeless male person slept at the bus shelter, and he got fined $600 something. He got fined because he slept there at the bus shelter. Unbelievable. Homeless, and then you think if he got $600, he's going to sleep there? You idiot! Whoever state police there in Queensland. And what is that? Is that under any city ordinance? Unbelievable. So that's why they know, my handler and the Hive Mind team knows that that's my interest. I got interest in politics, yeah, music, media, entertainment. They know the things that I like. I'm a targeted individual, mind control victim since birth. They know me more than I know myself. But one thing is for sure that they don't know. Okay? My God, my relationship with my God, my free will. That is one thing that your supercomputer will never, ever, ever, never, ever take away from me. Is my free will. It is the precious gift that my God Yahweh given me, is my free will. I will never, ever, ever succumb to your matrix. Okay? Never, ever succumb to be, to your matrix. Yeah, to your supercomputer. That's what you're doing. You're experimenting on me, on thousands of targeted individuals that are mind control victim, and millions of citizens of the world, because this is global, that you're experimenting on for your new world order, yeah? So that later on you can control the mass population. That's what you're doing. Believable. That's the mark of the beast. I will never ever ever succumb to that mark of the beast. The beast system. Yeah, that's the technology. Unbelievable. It reminds me of the I haven't researched more on the Geneva Convention, guys. Well, when you say Geneva Convention, it is more on, it talks about human rights, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. And guys, yeah, I listened to Scott Hensler on YouTube. On YouTube, the about Area 51 in Philadelphia, I think somewhere in America, underground. Yeah, that's a different story. And then he also spoke about CERN is actually located in Switzerland, Geneva. The CERN, you know the CERN? That's the matrix. That's gonna be the one that will control all of your brains around the world. That's why they're doing this. Unbelievable. Okay. Okay, the third one, guys, moving on. The third one is quenching. Quenching. They will constantly run you through a verification routine where the system probes you for a particular set of responses repeatedly in order to establish a pattern. If you are interacting and countering these probes, the operator will vary the routine in an attempt to verify via different methods. Okay, once the system verifies the selected responses, they will be used in the next wave of harassment. And I already gave you an example earlier, yeah? The catalog scenario, the park ranger scenario. Remember the park ranger in Parramatta Park when the park ranger is slowed down? Yeah, the first reaction that I did was I overtook, yeah, yeah, and then when I went again in Parramatta, the same thing again. The same thing again. The park ranger slowed down. So that's what they do. They have to do it multiple times. Okay, not only once, so that they can get the coherent pattern of my synaptic emotional response. Okay. Harassment routines. The process is endless, and you will see the effects clearly if you are consistently defeating the system. If you are not defeating the remote neural system, excuse guys, sorry. I don't know if my YouTube, can you hear me guys on YouTube, because my microphone is connected to the Facebook Live. So I hope you can hear me. Are consistently defeating the system. If you are not defeating the remote neural system, then you will not see or notice the effects. Okay, let's see. I'm not getting this one. The way to defeat the remote neural monitoring system is by quenching. Learn to read active memory to test and validate short-term memory. Remember guys, short-term memory, less than 30 seconds. Okay, long-term memory is like more than 30 seconds. So short-term memory, that's the one that you are formulating to do next. Yeah, the thought process, what are you going to do next? That's your active memory, less than 30 seconds. That's the one that they have to hijack and inject your previous falsified fabricated memories. Unbelievable. Oh, damn. Okay. Number 4, guys, redirection. Redirection is simple. When the remote neural attack happens in impulses and thoughts are introduced into your mind by strong urge, high frequency attack, or slight motivation, just change your thread of thought. This hinders integration completion between your brain and the RNM system. Mm-hmm. Do you remember? What does it say? You have to change your thread of thought. This hinders. Oh, okay, okay, redirection. Okay, I will, because I heard the DoD Whistleblower Brian just said something about this. Let's say, how am I gonna? Let's say if I'm thinking of, this is terrible. Okay, okay, it's a, Moving on, you do this by establishing what is known as a working reference, which is whatever makes you most happy in life. Okay. So if the remote, if the RNM system is trying to, like, if you think of something like, what am I gonna give you example? What impulse? I don't want to use Krispy Kreme. I've used a lot of times. Let's say I'm going to the park, or I'm going to the beach, because I always go to the northern beaches, right? So the RNM system can give me that thought like every 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes. I'm going to the north. I'm going to the north. So if I can read that that's not me, it's the system, it's a supercomputer doing that in my brain, then I have to think of things that makes me happy. I have to redirect that thought. I have to probably think of my Superman, Mr. Dream Boy, whatever, or I have to go driving or things like that. I have to think of my girls. So yeah, that's what I have to do. Think of my mom. So that, what does it say here? It will hinder integration completion between your brain and the RNM system. That's the thing that I have to do. Redirection, okay? Unbelievable. So it's a deadly game of deception and manipulation. Nothing more. Okay, guys. I'm going to share with you this video quickly, and then after that, I'm going to say something again. But this is part one anyway. It's already 1 a.m. here in Australia, guys. I don't know what time is it in America, in Canada. Um, okay. Sorry, I have to do this. Maybe I'm just like this. Okay, sorry guys. What's that happening? Okay, there you go. Hang on. Hang on a second. Oh my god, I don't know. Sorry guys, because my setup is not good. My this one is really really nice, guys. You need to listen to this one. I hope my, hang on a second. Hang on, hang on. Hang on, guys.
Talking about the world, the invisible world.
Okay, it's gonna come now. Okay, hang on. The Facebook can come now. Oh dear, how am I gonna sorry guys, I have to be. Oh my god, Lord. Hello YouTubers. Australian police. Oh my god, I got an Australian police. Okay. To all my YouTubers, friends, fellow TI, hello guys. Sorry, I have to read your later. Okay, I have to. And what about this one?
Okay, welcome back. Talking about the world, the invisible world of mass mind control and individual mind control that is, it's just extraordinary. talking with Brian Tew, T-E-W, about this. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, to answer your question about the hive mind teams, people want to know where they are, where they're coming from. They're not in some underground base somewhere. They're in every town, every city in America. They're hiding in plain sight. The best secret is that which is hidden in plain sight. And these hive mind teams are hiding in plain sight. They're the psychiatrists at the local mental hospital. They're the psychologists at the local children's clinic. They're the neuroscientists at the local university, etc. Okay, they're hiding in plain sight. And that these cognitive researchers are the ones that are responsible for a lot of the torture and assassination that goes on for the purposes of training, research, and development in mind control technology. They're using two interfaces, like we said, the brain-to-computer interface. That's the supercomputer. The sophisticated and advanced access field system downloads all of your, all electromagnetic activity, all these synaptic responses, the electromagnetic emissions of the victim's brain is downloaded at the speed of light. Energy travels at the speed of light, so they can download, upload at the speed of light.
Sure.
Back into a database. As the supercomputer is programmed to build, using various software programs, a cognitive model of your brain to eventually achieve direct behavioral control over you. And, the second interface, the hive mind teams, these cognitive researchers are using is the electronic brain-to-brain interface. It's basically a neurochip, a little smaller than a grain of sand inside the body or gear of the hive mind team members. So they're not, in some office somewhere. No, they're actually out in the field around you and trying to interact with you constantly. And that's part of the organized stalking. So the electronic brain-to-brain interface allows them to inject, to manipulate the brainwave signature of the victim, to inject, once they've been able to build a cognitive model of the victim's brain, to begin to clone their one of the people involved in the teams is called a clone. This is basically a psychiatrist, psychologist, etc., a cognitive researcher that basically clones his brainwave signature to that of the victim, so that he can begin to inject with his thoughts, his memories, his sensations into the victim's subconscious to manipulate the mental substrate of the victim, the self.
Got it.
And so that's what they're trying to achieve many things with this technology, such as interdimensional communications, training, research, and development in interdimensional communications like synthetic telepathy, remote viewing, etc. They're trying to learn how to manipulate matter, energy, and space with their brainwaves. They're trying to learn how to achieve knowledge by mere contemplation, such as accelerated learning, where you would turn the brain of the person into a giant search engine like Google or encyclopedia, et cetera, et cetera. It just goes on and on. There are a lot of reasons this is going on. But they're using 3 platforms to target their victims. People think they're being attacked with cell phones. I've heard them say that. And they're being attacked with drones and helicopters. No, you're not. No, they are not being attacked. The technology isn't. Now, the provocations, the stalking may include such things to provoke the victim into emotional responses, which can be remotely measured and integrated back into R&M data. They're constant mind games, which are necessary. But you're being attacked by a supercomputer, and it's using one of 3 platforms. So it's using a tower, a satellite, or what's called a mobile platform. Okay, and so
Brian, can they not also just use the Gwen towers for national coverage or the grid for regional or local coverage? They can introduce any frequency they want into the grid. It goes right into the home or the office or the location of the individual and emanates and irradiates from the wiring in the house. That's another possible platform, isn't it?
Well, again, they can manipulate the energy grid inside of a home using a target. They use the information required by the manipulation of the energy grid, the smart meter info, etc., to determine the activities, the composition habits of the victim. But all that goes back to the mapping of the brain of the victim. They're using physical and psychological trauma. This is very important. Okay, they're using physical trauma and psychological trauma to map out and reverse engineer the sensory and neural pathways of the victim's brain and central nervous system. So constant, torture to map out trauma to the victim's anatomy, to map out each region of the victim's anatomy.
Give me an example of torture.
Directed energy torture, your skin begin to modulate the stream of energy, targeting the cerebral cortex, causing your skin to burn. Well, your skin is not really burning, but the sensation is just as real. Okay, or they can cause other forms of pain, pulsating pain to the head and ears. They can basically by simple modulation of the stream, the phase, frequency, and amplitude of this bidirectional stream of energy, they can target any region, any organ of the human anatomy, because the human anatomy is a vibratory organism. Each area, each region, each organ
has its own vibration. Yes, I understand.
Right.
Can they not also induce in that individual severe states of anxiety, depression, elation, whatever they want? They can play with that person and make them feel like they're having a nervous breakdown, I would think.
That can cause them to have one. Yeah. But yeah, all of that is part of their tactics designed to use trauma, physical and psychological trauma, to map out the sensory and neural pathways of the victim's brain and central nervous system, because they're trying to achieve one thing, essentially. They're trying to reverse engineer the will, intellect, and emotion of the victim. In order to do that, the victim must play the game. The technology is based off of a lot of different things. One of the main tactics, one of the main processes they're using is the hypergame theory. If you understand...
Say that again, please. Hypergame?
Hyper game theory. There's probably one of the most important things to understand about mind control technologies and how to learn how to defeat them, to disrupt their technology, is to understand the non-cooperative gaming theorem. The moniker is called the hyper game theory. Basically, hyper game theory is essentially two models combined into one. It's game theory applied to decision tree modeling. And John Nash used that model, game theory, and applied it to decision tree modeling, and he was able to mathematically prove that by constantly and perpetually altering any value in the model, one can constantly and perpetually alter that model's expected outcome. So with CIA and DIA mind control technologies, the model is the victim. Okay, so by constantly and perpetually altering any value in the daily activities, daily life, finances, health and well-being, etc., of the victim, they can constantly and perpetually alter the outcome of the daily life, daily activities, etc., of the victim, forcing the victim into an endless series of counter moves, forced adjustments each day, trying to function and survive. This is very important, because each counter move, each forced adjustment the victim makes, trying to function and survive the trauma, is an evoked potential. It's a synaptic response in the victim's brain, which can be remotely measured by the supercomputer and integrated back into R&M data.
Right.
So, hyper game theory. They're using even the tactics, the organized stalking, and we'll get into that in just a second, is based on this model known as the hyper game theory. So basically, what the system is designed to do, and there are a lot of things that they're doing. Basically, it's to understand that there are key words involved that help the person understand how the technology is being deployed against them. And it's a fabricated and falsified stream of energy. It contains data, okay? And any set of brainwaves can be remotely captured from the victim and then held and perpetually replayed in the victim's brain. So what they're doing is they're using the victim's own memories against the victim. Captures those brainwaves.
Yeah.
Captures those set of brainwaves from you, okay? Memories, emotions, sensations. It captures that, and then it injects it repeatedly. The technology is designed, the supercomputer is designed, is programmed to remotely capture random bits of your senses, and then to inject, to first fabricate stories, mental suggestions. These are called thought-triggered attacks, at speed of light, to fabricate these mental suggestions, injected back into the subconscious of the victim, to interrogate the victim, to mentally interrogate the victim, to harass, to distract, to torture the victim into submission to the system's influence. So it's all a deadly game of deception and manipulation. The entire technology can be summed up in one sentence. CIA and DoD mind control technologies can really be summed up in one sentence. It is a deadly game of deception and manipulation, nothing more, based on that model, the hyper game theory, or one of them.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you a question. The individual TIs who are being gang-stalked, hyper-gamed, they are, I assume, beta tests. This is being done to gather data on how to apply it to the masses all at once. Correct? They're learning. This is that we're in the process where they're building their entire infrastructure to run the whole human race at some point.
Right. Correct. It's being scaled up to cover all 318 million Americans, obviously.
Right.
At some point, that's the picture. But organized stalking is simple to understand. Okay? If you just understand it's based on one thing and one thing only: choice, reference, patterns. The choice, reference, patterns of the victim.
Okay.
What are choice references? They're memories. Previous memories.
Right.
Okay, what are patterns? They're a pattern of the previous memories of the victim. It's called choice reference patterns. So they basically profile the victim. They build a profile of the composition habits of the victim. And then based on those previous choice references of the victim, they begin to station the organized stalkers at various vantage points. So based on those previous choices, where they know the victim is going to go. Okay? Because of the victim's memory. Remember, they're targeting your memory and thought process. Mind control technologies are designed to interfere with the memory and thought process. So the organized stalking is based off that premise. Choice, reference, patterns. They're going to target you with organized stalking based on your previous choices at those locations, your favorite cafes. In order to understand organized stalking, you have to go back and look at a pattern of your previous choices. Your favorite restaurants, your favorite bars, your favorite, modes of transportation, etc. Okay, and then once you understand that organized stalking is based on one thing, choice, reference, patterns, you must understand what it's comprised of, and that's two things. Based on one thing, choice, reference, patterns, but comprised of two things, and that's situational scenarios and conversational scenarios. In those situational and conversational scenarios, street theater, okay, mind game, will always be based on events or topics that they know will capture the victim's attention.
Right.
So the organized stalking is designed to force the victim to respond. Remember, each response trying to overcome the organized stalking, each forced adjustment away from the harassment is a synaptic response that evokes potential in your brain, which can be remotely measured by the supercomputer and integrated back into R&M data as the supercomputer continues to build a cognitive model of your brain and central nervous system. That's organized stalking. That's a simple definition of it.
All right, we got it. Very good. Okay.
So the stream, it's important to understand the stream. The stream, based off your brainwave signature, okay, but basically it's a fabricated and falsified. When I say a fabricated and falsified stream, what I mean is fabricated are your own previous memories, your own previous brainwave patterns, your own previous sets of brainwaves. The system copied and is holding and is injecting perpetually back into your subconscious. That's fabricated. Falsified are those brainwaves, those memories, for example, emotions, etc. The supercomputer was able to layer in with the neuroprogramming, for example, at night, the dream modulation, the neurolinguistic programming, etc. So they layer these in at night. Well, organized stalking is necessary to determine, engage, and measure the effectiveness of their technology. So they got to determine whether the neuroprogramming is effective. So using trigger stimuli, trigger words, trigger objects, trigger colors, trigger symbols, etc., they have the organized stalkers engage in these mind games, street theater, constantly to determine if the neuroprogramming the night before, etc., was effective. So the organized stalkers are they're used for a number of, organized stalking is used for a number of different reasons. For surveillance, to keep the victim from defeating the technology. For example, if the victim was able to move into a dead zone, they'd have to flush the victim out. To discredit the victim, try having a rational conversation with anyone about the fact that 100 hostile strangers are following you. It's not possible. They know that, etc. But primarily to provoke you constantly, to force you to respond. Their entire technology is based on their ability to capture your attention at regular intervals and force you to respond to them.
Wow, pretty grim. All right, so what are they going to do with all these TIs who have been so thoroughly programmed, databased, and uploaded? The computer will know as much about them as probably they do about themselves, if not more. So what are they going to do with these people? What's the net gain? What is their goal? Why are they doing this? Those are questions that I'm sure many out there are asking.
Well, again, we basically talked about why. They're training, research, and development.
Yeah.
What they're going to do with the victims after they've reached their objectives depends on the victim.
But they're essentially disposable, though.
Right. Well, they don't want witnesses. Listen, most mind control victims, there are hundreds of programs, okay? State-of-the-art mind control, trauma-based mind control, omega programming, beta programming, etc. There are hundreds of programs, okay? It depends what they do with the victim, with the targeted individual. It depends on the program they have placed the victim into. For example, state-of-the-art mind control is based off the ignorance of the victim. The victim has no idea they're even targeted with this technology. Their life goes to hell, their health, their careers destroyed, their families are destroyed, but they never knew.
They never know, and they'll never, many of them, of course, will reject it out of hand as being even possible. They'll say ridiculous.
They won't know at all.
No.
Right, yeah. So it's not necessary for the government to do away with them, unless that's part of the objective of the experiment. But primarily, they have four objectives that choose from once they have achieved their objectives with the training, research, and development of the mind control victim. Once they reach their end goal, okay, they have basically four means of determining what to do with the victim. The first is if the victim is not, if killing the victim is not the preferable option, then, they'll set the victim up and frame the victim, have them gone into a prison or mental institution, like Dr. Robert Duncan said, or they'll mind hobble the victim, just target the victim's brain.
Mind hobble the victim, okay.
Right. So those are basically the four means that they have, the four processes they have of dealing with the victim once they've reached their objective. It's not a pretty picture, but that's what's going to happen to the victim. Okay, but right now, all that you're seeing, all this torture and terror and harassment, is basically the American government using their own citizens to implement and deploy the technology, the training, research, and development behind it. I mean, they've got the infrastructure in place already.
And it's very easy to recruit, Brian. It's very easy to recruit citizens to do the legwork, so to speak. You give them a couple $100 a day, whatever. You tell them you're really doing something important for the country and its security and its future. And many of them are only too happy to take that mantle up, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, people want to know who are the organized stalkers. Basically, organized stalkers are one thing: government informants, mostly low-level government informants, turned into provocateurs. Okay, to provoke the victim constantly. Okay,
right.
So they're just low-level informants, most of them at the street level. That organized stalking is based on picket surveillance. Okay, picket surveillance. So basically, and leapfrogging and other tactics which they use. That's organized stalking in a nutshell.
What was it? Elite what? Elite what?
Picket surveillance.
I got that, but you said elite fogging? It sounded like you said fogging.
I'm sorry, leapfrogging.
Oh, leapfrogging. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Surveillance.
Gotcha.
Methods. And so, these they're used as verification triggers and verification markers for the technology. So they can't allow the victim, the mind control victim, to engage in a random pattern of a chaotic and random pattern of situations and conversations. It disrupts their technology. Remember, every response of the trauma-based mind control victim must be verified. They must constantly run the victim through a verification routine each day, where the system probes the victim for a set of responses. Okay, and then once if the victim is able to counter those probes, and the operator will try, will stop that process and try to verify by other means. Okay, but they're constantly running the victim through a verification process, and basically verification is forcing the victim into a pattern of behavior, a pattern of emotion, a pattern of sensations. Okay, so what they're doing is they're trying to force the victim into emotional responses after emotional responses until they can generate enough of these responses from the victim, these synaptic responses, which can then be correlated into what are called response statistics. And then from that statistical data, those response statistics, a coherent pattern of thought is determined, which can then be identified, developed, and integrated back into RNN data. So, they're constantly forcing the victim to respond. And these government informants turn provocateurs, these low-level thugs on the street. That's what they are. They're just provocateurs, low-level informants that are used to constantly harass and provoke. Remember, they're using not just physical trauma, but psychological trauma.
Sure.
Force the victim. That's why they need to. The technology, the torture, for example, is designed to be brutal, precisely so no one will believe it has happened. Well, so are the tactics. The violence, the harassment, the threats of violence, they're designed to create a hostile environment everywhere the victim goes, to force the victim into isolation, to force the victim back into their home or their apartment, where there's no external activities going on, chaotic and random events going on around the victim, which entrains the victim's brain away from their neuroprogramming, the visual and verbal entrainments the system is using 24 hours a day to keep your brain entrained to the system. They need to minimize any external.
Okay, I got it. We got 2 minutes left. I have to again repose the question. So, what is the ultimate goal of putting these people through such hell? Is this an interim, a preliminary, or an advanced piece of work that is being done to come up with a nationwide program? Are these people being sacrificed as individual experiments? Are they learning from them all the time? What are they doing?
They're doing three things. Okay, they're doing three things. The mind control technologies of the CIA and DoD can be comprised in all of it falls into one of three categories. Everything they're doing to their victims, no matter what program they're in, falls into one of three categories: censorship, memory management, and direct behavioral control. That's what they're doing to them, and they're doing it they're using them as guinea pigs for training, research, and development. Censorship is simply to restrict the victim from engaging in any type of activity, external activity, which disrupts or interferes with their technology. Okay, that's called censorship. So they'll use trauma and pain, or they'll use drowsiness, etc. By modulation of the phase, frequency, and amplitude of the stream, they'll use pain stimulus. That's called censorship.
Okay, we're talking about like arthritis pain symptoms, headaches, backaches. What are we talking about? I get the skin burning thing, but what they can do almost anything, I guess.
They can, but again, the human anatomy is vibratory. But by targeting the cerebral cortex of the victim, they can manipulate any region of the human anatomy.
Okay.
It can cause you to feel pain like your skin is burning, even though your skin is not really burning. The sensation is the same. But that's the first category. It's called censorship. The second category that they're doing to the victims is called memory management. That's basically it basically falls into remote neural monitoring and remote neural manipulation. And memory management is simply blocking the real memories of the victim, the thoughts, and injecting with fabricated and falsified memories.
So you're remembering things that never happened, all right? And you swear, and you could probably pass a lie detector, that it did happen. But it didn't, because it's there in your memory banks. All right.
Right. Well, that's memory management. Okay. Simply blocking and injection method.
Okay, number 3. Then we got to wrap it up this hour. Go ahead. Number 3.
Direct behavioral control. Basically, they have different ways of achieving this. Obviously, once the cognitive model is complete, the mental substrate, the self of the victim is mapped out, then they can speed up the model and turn the victim into the worst satanic monster imaginable, or slow down the model in their database and turn the finest athlete into a human vegetable. That's one method of direct behavioral control. But they're targeting the daily motives and emotional perceptions of the victim. They want the victim to become dependent upon the system's output. The R&M supercomputer is constantly attacking with memory references. Hundreds of times a day you're being attacked. Okay, using memory references. So it's a fabricated, falsified stream of energy designed to interfere with your memory and thought process to get you to become dependent, not you, but whoever's targeted, to become dependent upon the system's output, meaning you believe that the impulse injections and the memory references that are being injected, artificially injected into your mind by this bidirectional stream of energy, you believe they're your own. They want you to become dependent upon the system's output, so that, or at least they want to believe that the responses that they're seeing from you are consistent. And at that point is when the system, the R&M supercomputer begins to fabricate these subconscious responses, which pretends are indicators of what you just mentioned, indicators of honesty, dishonesty, positive recognition, anxiety, etc. And then they use those memory references, those impulse injections, to convince you that the responses that you're having are your own.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Artificial.
Pretty evil. Pretty damned evil. All right, Brian. Very good. Hold on a minute. We'll take a break and come right back and pursue this a little further. Talk more about 5G in the next hour. Some other things, and some of you may be wondering how all of this is being delivered most often that we're discussing now. We'll talk about that as well. Okay, welcome back. Talking with Brian 2, That's spelled TEW, about mass mind control, manipulation, and all the rest of it. Okay, Brian, not to jump too far ahead, but 5G. 5G is coming. We have people who have looked into this. One of our colleagues talked to somebody who is a contractor putting together on the job one of the new 5G towers, and he has been working in the industry for apparently many years, 3G, 4G. He says there are lots of equipment pieces that he's installing. He knows how to install them, but he has no idea and is not being told what they're for, what their use is, nothing. He said, I don't have any idea what they're doing, but it's really advanced stuff. So what do you know about 5G and how this may or may not be a platform to distribute some of the ELF, extreme low frequency, control mechanisms that are being used on people? Certainly it's a platform, is it not?
It would, I'm not saying that they wouldn't use the 5G towers to deploy the technology. Obviously, they could utilize those. They could run out the top portions of the tower, and then utilize those towers as part of the infrastructure that they use. But my understanding of fifth generation, this 5G is basically it's just a higher data rate. It's just a higher cost reduction, energy saving type of capacity to achieve the delivery of information at higher speeds. And so I don't, based on my research, but I'm not refuting the research of anyone else who knows more about 5G than I do. I really have no point of reference on 5G as it relates to the technology. I don't see why they would need to deliver 20 gigabytes or more per second when the technology is based on this hidden carrier frequency within this electromagnetic, this stream of electromagnetic frequency waves specifically tuned to the brainwave signature of the victim. This midstream would not be necessary. In my understanding, the millimeter waves are higher, at 15 gigahertz and higher, and with 5G. And so you're talking about the delivery of high-speed delivery of information.
Yes.
And there are various other reasons for 5G.
Yeah.
I don't know much about that. I have no point of reference on it, but I don't see that it's related in any way to the deployment of the technology.
Okay.
They're using.
It doesn't have.
Generate.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be related, but it certainly can be. It's there. If they want to use it, they'll find a way to use it. There's clearly something.
Free platforms,
Yeah. There's clearly something in the offing here that is big and dark and unpleasant. 5G is going to be enormous. Go ahead, but that may be off topic here to a degree. How?
Yeah, it is with me. I don't know much about it, but as far as 5G is involved in the deployment of mind control technologies, I don't see that it's related. I'm not saying that when it comes to
very good
spectrum and the modems and modes.
Okay, fair enough. No problem.
Right.
Okay. The idea of using smartphones to actually read, calculate, and send back brainwave signatures is another possibility that's being talked about by people who study 5G. So you've got a two-way situation going there too.
Interesting. Again, I have no point of reference on the technology, but again, 5G, cell phones and mind control technologies are just basically platforms. They're control devices. Okay, they're not using cell phones to target the brainwave signature of the victim. That's not how the technology is. Based on the research that I've been given from scientists and that I've been able to discern from my research building off of their resources, it's the cell phone technology. Cell phones are used in mind control technologies, but they're basically control devices. So, if for example, if the firewall breaks down between the hive mind team members and the because theoretically you're dealing with a bidirectional stream, and if the clone member of the hive mind team has cloned his brainwave signature to your brainwave signature, and he can read your thoughts in real time, then theoretically you should be able to read his thoughts in real time, being part of that same. But you can't because of the firewall, which is actually another human brain. And so that's why they move together in teams of 3 to 6 people per team, because if the firewall breaks down, then they've got trouble. So they'll use they'll dial a specific number on the cell phone, and they'll shut the BCI down, the brain to computer interface down. Excuse me, the electronic brain to brain interface down momentarily to determine what happened. So my understanding of cell phones, they're just control devices. They're not actually involved in everything. Everything is dependent upon that unbroken stream of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Interface
Okay.
with the nanotechnology
All right.
of the brain called transcranial brain stimulation.
Got it. Let me go back. How do we get the actual ELF for the transcranial stimulation and control transmitted to people? What is the most common? And you mentioned this earlier. I just want to loop back and catch it again. What are the platforms? What are the control devices, the dissemination devices more appropriately, used to send and receive these bit streams, these torrents, back and forth from a TI, targeted victim? What are the platforms?
Well, essentially, what's necessary for their technology to work properly, for this fabricated and falsified stream of energy to be able to manipulate, to remotely monitor and manipulate the brainwaves of the victim, is basically, for example, they need to achieve integration completion between the victim's brain and the supercomputer, okay, without the victim's responses to their specific stimuli, and that's what verification is. It's integration completion, okay? So, for example, if the victim doesn't respond to their street theater, then verification process breaks apart and mind control technologies fail. So the street theater, the mind games, are simply part of the tactics used to force the victim to keep responding, so that these three platforms, tower, satellite, and mobile platform, can interface with the victim during. There are basically two stages. There are basically two things mind control is based off of, simply based off of. That would be remote neural monitoring and remote neural manipulation.
Okay.
Remote neural monitoring is not mind control. Remote neural manipulation is mind control. Remote neural monitoring is basically the ability of the system to identify, to read, to image, to measure, and to transmit data regarding the neural activity of your brain or whoever's targeted. Okay, that's the simple definition of remote neural monitoring. It gets more complicated than that. There's formulation, the first stage of remote neural monitoring, which is the cataloging and collecting of your memory references, the data regarding those memory references, and check it back into the subconscious.
Right.
The supercomputer collects and catalogs. Then there's predictive integration, which is the next stage of remote neural monitoring, which is basically the interpretation of that data. Okay, but the actual infrastructure itself, okay, we don't know much about these exascale supercomputers. You know, there's extremely advanced technology, and the supercomputer basically, for example, it would take one person, one human being, 1 billion years to achieve what one exascale system supercomputer can do in 1 second.
Got it.
So you're dealing with a system of remote neural networks. That's what's targeting you, okay? Remote neural networks, okay, with a will, intellect, and emotion of their own. The system, the RM supercomputer that's targeting you, okay, that uses one of these three relay stations, the tower, satellite, or mobile platform, it actually locks on to your emotional state. Once the cognitive model, this generic model is built, it begins to lock on to your emotional state, okay, and then it begins to not just to monitor, but to manipulate that emotional state. They need to map out all 7 vectors of the emotional state of the victim in order to create this cognitive model, this reverse engineered will, intellect, and emotion. That's your human soul, by the way. Okay? The human soul is the will, intellect, and emotion of the victim. They figured out what to do with the human body. The 5 senses, they can pretty much achieve whatever they want by manipulation of the human anatomy with mind control technologies. Now they're going after the soul, the will, intellect, and emotion. Okay, and to achieve that, the supercomputer must lock onto your emotional state. And so anything which interferes with that, supercomputer is designed to stop using one of those 3 platforms, and by way of censorship, memory management, and direct behavioral control. That's what the Mandela effect is. This absolutely ridiculous government-created phenomenon called the Mandela effect is simply a mass mind control model for training, research, and development to test and validate the collective consciousness, the memory references of the geopsych. The geopsych meaning that the memory references of certain segments of society.
Okay.
In order to force victims to become dependent upon memory references which never existed.
All right. Okay. I've got to go back to my earlier question. Is this program in a developmental stage at this point, or is it considered a done deal and they're just playing with people, getting ready to roll it out to even more of the general populace? Where are they on this whole program timeline?
R&D. Yeah, they're still in R&D phase.
All right, that's a question. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, basically, it's just going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Mind control will soon permeate, as far as where are we? Mind control technologies will soon permeate every facet of American society.
Every facet.
I got it. To get medical care. Soon you'll be able to make a phone call with your brainwaves, hands-free, of course, using a brain-to-computer interface. Soon, right now these brain-to-computer interfaces, which you're seeing on the market today, such as the ability to move prosthetic arms and limbs, driverless cars. Mattel has a child's game where a child moves a metal ball around on a table with his brainwaves. All of that's based on.
Mattel has that now already? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's available now. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more already on the market. I don't even know about, but you're seeing these. This is artificial intelligence. The mind control technologies of the CIA and Department of Defense are not based on artificial intelligence. That's old hat technology. That's artificial intelligence as we know it is based upon if and then algorithms. Okay.
Okay, but they do. Hold on. Don't they have to come up with? This is what I've read, a basic algorithm for an AI to interface with and dispose of, i.e., take care of, solve a problem, an issue. Some kind of a decision has to be made. So they give them algorithms to do this. They have to have one for basically every issue. That's why the story, I had a story about a month ago now. There is a move afoot, and when they talk about we're going to work on this, or we may work on this, or we're planning on working on this, usually means they've already done it. They're going to teach AI common sense, human common sense. Now, what does that mean? That's a pretty damn subjective term. Your common sense may not be my common sense. So whose common sense are they going to teach AI? And how relevant is that? That's a huge issue, but that's where they allegedly are.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
No, they're way beyond that.
That's okay. That was my preface. I said, okay, go ahead. That's what we know about them.
They actually abandoned the math a long time ago because they realized that no matter how many trillion and billion and octillion mathematical equations, algorithms you create, they will still not cover every scenario.
Everything. That's right. That's right.
People are too unique, too different, even in their cognitive makeup. So they abandoned the math.
Okay.
They moved to a reverse engineering of the human mind, and that's what CIA and DoD mind.
So they're terraforming the individual human brain, the mind, the psyche, the soul, you name it. They're going to go through and remake it in whatever image and configuration they want.
The system, the supercomputers are designed to clone, to download one's entire persona and psyche back into its database.
I understand.
And then based on that cognitive model being complete, to begin to be able to predict and influence in advance the reference choices of the victim during thought composition. As the victim is formulating his thoughts and preparing to act, the supercomputer already has that persona and psyche, all your emotional state downloaded, every vector of your emotional state downloaded, so I can already predict and influence those events in your life in advance and achieve direct behavioral control over you.
Sure. Okay. All right. So this would be the last generation of really quasi-unfettered free thought.
I think we passed, like Dr. Robert Duncan said in an interview that he gave, I think we passed that stage a long time ago.
We may have.
I think that I think that mind control technologies that exist today, that are on the market today, are nothing. I mean, the government is about 80 years ahead of the technology available in the market, and they're 500 to 700 years. We got this from somebody who was inside the information, who had the detailed information before he was assassinated. They're 500 to 700 years ahead of with the technology which is not available on the market. So it's hard to gauge and measure, where they are. All we can do is, from my own personal experiences, begin to try to, take the research and resources available, and then based on that research and those resources, contrast our own personal experiences with the technology itself. So, I can't tell you based on my limited research, how far advanced they are, but I think we're probably, as Dr. Robert Duncan said, free will is probably a moot point now.
All right, I'm not going to argue that. There are always there are always some exceptions, but they've got it to the point that I think they can impose as much control as they essentially want over an awful lot of people.
And because the technology is designed to mimic the normal cognitive behavior of the victim. They can do so without the victim even knowing.
Or the victim's friends won't know it, even their spouse won't know it, necessarily.
That's how they create these hauntings. That's how the CIA uses the occult and haunted houses and other spoofing tactics against people, against targeted individuals and against entire communities to try to determine what they can maintain as truth, to learn how to subdue or to radicalize a person's belief system. Because they're simply, most people don't even know they're being targeted. Millions of people are being targeted right now with this technology tied to these supercomputers, these system of remote neural networks.
Right.
Okay? And hundreds of thousands of them are trauma-based, and the majority of them don't even know. So unless you have some basic understanding of the technology and the tactics, because the technology is designed to mimic your normal cognitive behavior, it's very difficult for people to determine they're actually targeted with this technology, especially when you're constantly being run through a verification routine every day where the system is verifying your responses by forcing you into patterns of behavior. It gets frustrating.
Wow.
It gets, debilitating. But unless you have some sense of trauma or pain, it's really not possible to determine that the government was behind it to begin with. It's using your own memories against you. They're using your own responses, your own motivation.
Your own memories against you, and in many cases, those memories don't really exist, except in your mind where they were placed.
Right. Well, those are falsified. Okay, they do layer in falsified memories, but they also use your own memories, which are fabricated memory sets of brainwaves. Okay, so and sometimes people don't realize that it's my memory, therefore it must be me. It can't be some artificial supercomputer injecting this into my brain. This is my memory. So they personally identify with the thought, with that synaptic response, with that motivational impulse. So unless there's some way they can contrast their own normal experience from contrast their own normal memory and thought process from which you do by learning to read active memory. If you can read active memory, you can begin to contrast your own normal memory and thought process from the artificial impulse injections that the supercomputer is attacking you with. Okay? This technology is so advanced and so sophisticated, you could spend hours talking about it. And people, a lot of times it just goes right over their heads. They just don't realize it's like you're talking rudimentary Chinese to them. And unfortunately, unless people can get a basic understanding of the technology, they'll never know they're targeted to begin with.
Right. Well said. Okay. So how many people are working in this industry of mass mind control, NTIs, and all the things we've been discussing? How big of a program is it? It's black ops.
Well, it's huge.
We know that.
It's huge.
So there must be many hundreds of thousands of people involved with this to some degree or another. They have to be.
Right. Well, I can only talk about, what the reason.
And are the universities not fronting some of it?
Of course. Well, no.
They always are.
Again, it's four organizations and agencies behind it all. DoD, NSA, CIA,
right.
CIA.
Well, they kick out contracts right and left, remember. Yeah.
Right. Well, those deep state contractors, okay, those shadow government contractors, and there's a difference between the deep state and the shadow government. The shadow government is basically two things. It's the Department of Defense and the intelligence agencies. That's a shadow government. The deep state is an entirely different entity. It's basically, in simple terminology, the deep state is the military-industrial complex.
Right.
Okay.
Sure.
And so the contractors, who knows how many contractors would be involved in this? Because there, would have to be they're in every city and every town in America. You have to think there are hundreds of thousands. There will always be the hive mind team members will always be cognitive researchers. Now, once you get down to the surveillance team level, then you're dealing with swarmers. You're dealing with community-based agents, you're dealing with law enforcement, you're dealing with, just a whole litany all the way down to these basic, organized stalkers on the street, these thugs on the street. So, if you count them as contractors, then it's innumerable. There's no way to gauge it. But the people that are involved, a lot of them, everything's highly compartmentalized. So people are only told what they need to know.
Right.
This prevents information leaking. If it gets the CIA learned its lesson the hard way with the MK Ultra hearings in the 1970s with the Church Commission hearings.
Yeah.
So, they're not going to use people where if they're caught to be traced back to them. They're using these contractors, and these contractors don't even know where their information, their data is going. They would not know, for example, that it's Lockheed Martin, that and from Lockheed Martin it's DARPA. They would not, they would have no, the chain would break. Everything's highly compartmentalized. So because it's so compartmentalized, it's difficult to gauge how many people are actively involved. Obviously, it would have to be hundreds of thousands of cognitive researchers alone. But again, they're hiding in plain sight. They're not in some underground base somewhere. These cognitive researchers are at the local university, college. They're the psychologists, the psychiatrists at the local hospital. They're hiding in plain sight, just like the towers. These grid systems, these relay systems that the system is using, hiding in plain sight. So it's difficult to say because we don't have the data. But again, if people can begin to understand how a computer multiplexer, okay, you're being attacked by a supercomputer, you're not being attacked by towers and satellites, they're simply the relay devices. A computer multiplexer is routing the signal to a tower, a satellite, a mobile platform, which then relays the signal to the digital receiver, similar to how cell phone technology is used. So if you want to understand how it's deployed, just think of a cell phone. It's nothing like cell phone technology, but it helps a person in the theater of their mind because
Sure, I understand.
how the technology is deployed.
Yeah.
So once it's relayed, the computer multiplexer routes the signal to the tower, satellite, or mobile platform, and the tower, satellite, or mobile platform relays the signal to the digital receiver. The digital receiver is then tracked and pinpointed in real time, just like a cell phone. Except with CIA and DIA mind control technologies, the digital receiver is not a phone, it's a human brain.
Yeah.
Your brain has been digitalized with the nanotechnology inside of it. You have become a walking digital receiver. And how many people are actually, walking digital receivers? Well, everyone. If you want to be technical,
Right.
people thinking this.
We don't think, we agree, we don't think anyone's escaped. Not if you drink, breathe, or eat on this planet. Hold on a minute. We'll be right back with Brian. Good job, Brian, explaining something that's very difficult to explain. You're doing it perfectly. Back in just a minute. Okay, and back with Brian, too. All right, Brian, what areas do we need to get in? We've got about 20 minutes left or so here.
Well, I want to touch on the Mandela effect because this is really something that people need. As far as I know, I'm the only one trying to speak out and expose what's happening with the Mandela effect. Very important.
Mandala or Mandela? Mandala?
Mandela effect. Mandela effect.
Spell it.
Mandela effect. This government-created phenomenon called the Mandela effect. It's entirely fabricated and falsified. It's an entirely government-created phenomenon to test and validate the memory references, the collective consciousness of the geosite, of entire segments of society.
Right.
But before I wanted to talk about that, I wanted to basically touch on what you were saying just before we went to break. It's difficult to determine how many people are targeted. Dr. Robert Duncan says, tens of thousands that he knows of. That's his best estimate, but it's got to be much, much higher. The problem is that these remote neural attacks, the impulse injections, etc., all of that can be achieved at lower intensities. And people will really only notice that they're being targeted with this technology at higher intensity. And by higher intensities, I mean torture, trauma-based mind control. Okay, the use of physical and psychological trauma to map out and reverse engineer the sensory and
and included in that basket of torture can be things like stress, anxiety. I've read something about tinnitus today, ringing in the ears. That's a trauma torture.
I know all about it, yeah.
Okay, that's a trauma torture method, yeah. Migraine headaches, there's another one. Go ahead.
That's part of censorship, the use of trauma to disrupt the continuity of thought and erase short-term active memory. That's censorship. If you want to boil censorship down into just the most simplest definition, remember, everything they're doing to their victims is based on three things: censorship, memory management, direct behavioral control. Censorship is basically the use of trauma, pain, drowsiness, dizziness, etc., like they use on you, okay, to disrupt your continuity of thought and to erase short-term active memory. With you driving the car, they were able to use trauma, drowsiness, to disrupt your continuity of thought, causing an accident. Okay, that's censorship. okay, to censor your ability to engage in any type of external activity which disrupts or interferes with their technology, or interferes with their technology. But again, because it can be achieved, all of it, at lower intensities, you really won't know you're even targeted unless you have a basic understanding of the technology, unless, of course, you're being targeted at higher intensities, and by that, I again, torture, you know.
Got it.
But all of that, you know, is basically, if you want to break it down, mind control, remote neural manipulation, to its simplest, simplest sequence, is basically the ability of the supercomputer that's targeting you and attacking you to predict and influence. Those are the two key words: to predict and influence your reference choices, memory, okay? Or impulse sequencing. That's the motivational impulses, anxiety, fear, paranoia, during thought composition. Thought composition is that stage in your active memory, your short-term memory, when you're formulating your thoughts and you're preparing to act. That's when the system attacks. Remember, thought-triggered attacks. Energy travels at the speed of light. Okay, this bidirectional stream, unbroken stream of energy is designed to attack you during thought composition as you're formulating your thoughts, to pitch you into some type of action or access sequence, to deceive and manipulate you. That's mind control. That's the simplest definition of mind control there is. Okay? So, but I want to talk about this Mandela effect, because it's part of mass mind control. It really is. People don't realize what's happening with the Mandela effect.
Tell us what it is. What is the Mandela effect? All right.
Okay. Well, the Mandela effect is nothing more than a fabricated and falsified government-created phenomenon. People don't realize this. Okay, to test and validate the collective consciousness of the geopsych. The geopsych meaning the memory references of segments of each society. Okay. So that's the geopsych. So what they're doing is, it's simply another mass mind control model for training, research, and development in geopsych hive mind configuration. That's what it is. I'm absolutely amazed that rational and credible people are even falling for it. Okay, but unless you understand mind control is premised on memory management, and that's what Mandela effect is. It's basically global or societal memory management. Okay, this fabricated, falsified, government-created phenomenon called the Mandela effect is basically training, research, and development in global or societal hive mind configurations for the manipulation of that collective consciousness, those memory references of the society, the segment of society which they're targeting, to learn how to reshape societal thoughts and behavior, to manipulate the daily motives and emotional perceptions of entire segments of societies. That's the Mandela effect. It's just a government-created, it's a fabricated, falsified government-created phenomenon to measure and gauge how models of deception and manipulation can be utilized to force a population or a segment of society to become dependent upon the fabricated memory references which never existed. Remember, we talked about, they want you to become dependent upon the memory references. The belief responses are your own. That's memory management, okay? So, such as, for example, positive recognition. So, to be able to remotely manipulate entire segments of society at a time. So it's just simply, the Mandela effect is simply global memory management or societal memory management using, these memory references which never existed to begin with. So if they can generate these falsified and fabricated memory references and motivational impulses, from large groups of people at a time, then they can further their training, research, and development in how these supercomputers, these exascale remote neural networks, can perceive the mass emotions of the geopsych as a whole. Remember, they're scaling this up for all 318 million Americans. And this Mandela effect, the government contractors have used it on me on the internet. I got a whole website dedicated to me. They just, they talk about my name's Mandela effect. Well, no, it's not. It's a memory reference which never existed. They're creating memory references, fabricated and falsified memory references. Remember, this is a weapon system. Again, they're going to tell you that mind control technologies are necessary for the betterment of humanity, to improve our economy, etc., to turn America and the industrialized nations of the world into a neuro-society where people can communicate with each other by their brainwaves, with computers by their brainwaves. But that's all cover story. It's a weapon system, okay? It's a weapon system designed to censor and control the sheepish masses, to restrict them at will. So they're using the Mandela effect for training, research, and development to learn how to achieve that. There is no Mandela effect. There never was. It's simply the use of fabricated and falsified memory references, which never existed, to force segments of society to become dependent upon these vast mind control models of deception and manipulation, to learn how to achieve direct behavioral control over entire segments of society.
At this point in time, Brian, when they're implanting and embedding false memories in people, is it a one person, one operation, or are they doing this en masse and giving a whole lot of people the same false memory? So they're building up basically an entirely new cultural reflex that never happened. They can do this.
Right, in the first Gulf War, I don't know if you remember CNN and these other news agencies, they were broadcasting these tens of thousands of Iraqi soldiers. I don't remember how many there were. Just mass amount of soldiers, Iraqi soldiers, which were surrendering with their...
Oh, yeah, they thought they heard the voice of Allah, or whatever,
Well,
many of
you know
them.
what that was? Right, it was falsified memory references. Anytime, listen, memory is basically three things. If you break it down to the simplest level, it's just three things. You have short-term memory, long-term memory, and sensory memory.
Yeah.
Now, it gets more complicated than that. You have residual memory, you have active memory. We're just going to make it real simple. Okay, short-term memory, long-term memory, and what's called sensory memory. That's the three categories of memory. Well, they're targeting your short-term memory, your active memory, okay? I'm not saying that falsified memory attacks don't happen, that these falsified memory references that they're not using, they are using. That's the Mandela effect, okay? But these are, as Muslim soldiers, using synthetic telepathy, voice to skull, etc., were led to believe that their God of their choice was speaking to them and telling them to dismantle their weapon. That's falsified memory.
Remember, this goes way back to the 1970s and Project Bluebeam. Remember Bluebeam? All right. Well, that was simply using lasers to create visual images in the sky, in the heavens, of
you know how they do that?
Holy people, whatever. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
To subdue or to radicalize.
Absolutely.
They want to learn. See, that's what the Mandela effect is. They're trying to determine what society can maintain as truth. They're trying to determine...
See, they were on this so long. Bluebeam was going to be... Bluebeam still... They may still use parts of it. All right? They go over... Yeah, all right. So a lot of times...
For example.
That's right. That's right. Sure.
Well, these visions of Mary and Buddha and Muhammad, you're saying, they're nothing more than holograms designed for one of two purposes, to subdue or to radicalize. To subdue or to radicalize a person's belief system. They're targeting the memories.
They don't have to radicalize Islam. It's already radicalized. Boy, is it. And are we in trouble? 2.2 billion people on the planet want Western culture dead. Right? Dead.
Yeah, it does. It does work well against Islam and these karma-based New Age, especially those that are karma-based, these religions. Even militant Christianity, easily manipulated with technology. The problem is, it becomes the mainstream Christian doctrines do offer some degree of protection. Dr. Robert Duffman said in one of his books. He said because the doctrine he calls it the doctrines of the faith. It's more than that. It's much more than that. It's an indwelling of the Holy Spirit. But I don't want to get into religion. Okay, but it's very important. The religious beliefs of the victim. The belief system of the victim is an incredibly important metric in their training, research, and development to determine one of two things. One, what can the victim maintain as truth? That's the Mandela effect. That's what they're doing to determine what society can maintain as truth, what segments of people can maintain as truth, segments of society. But secondly, to either subdue or to radicalize. So they're learning. That's all. All Mandela effect is a second category of mind control. It's memory management. So. Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but it's just the technology is so sophisticated and advanced, it's hard to even scratch the surface in 2 hours, especially with the Mandela effect. This entirely ridiculous.
Well, here's another angle which may or may not play into their plans and may be used by them, but this whole issue of smartphone screen addiction is huge. People, the millennials especially, younger people, they are so addicted to these electronic digital devices that they literally can't put them down, can't turn them off, don't want to be left alone without some kind of interaction with that phone or that screen or friends who are involved with it as well, that they never have time to sit and think. And when you're sitting alone and with your thoughts, usually ideas are born. That's when ideas most commonly show up. So we're not getting much proactivity in life anymore. It's all reactive, reactive, reactive. So when you're talking about screen memories and false memories and embedded memories, these are reactive tools. Same thing.
I agree. They're using social media. They're using whether it's the internet or
it's Pavlovian, for God's sakes. You get something good, you get a dopamine release in the brain. You're happy. It's addictive. All right, that's smartphones. You get a message, you get a text, boom, you get a dopamine release. You're happy. It's like drugs.
I am amazed. Of course, your eyes have been open and my eyes have been open. Okay, the matrix, the red pill, blue pill. Our eyes have been open. But I am absolutely amazed at how many Americans are deceived. These sheepish masses of America are deceived by the talking points, propaganda machine of the mass media, so-called mainstream media.
I know.
The government is using for mind control. I mean, they're manipulating the memory and thought process of the American people with these with social media, with
absolutely
mainstream media.
Yeah.
So we could just go on and talk for hours on this. I'm so glad that I was able to talk with you. Dr. Eric Karlstrom and another scientist told me you were trying to get a hold of me.
Eric mentioned you, and I'm glad you reached out. I need to get Eric back on the program, so please pass that along to him. I need to talk to him again.
I'll email him. Well, I want to give a shout out to these scientists like Dr. Robert Duncan, Dr. Eric Karlstrom, Dr. John Hall, Terry Roberts, so many, who have risked their lives to expose that. I mean, this was not their fight. They had no dog in this fight. Okay, their consciousness would not let them sleep at night. They took a look at their families, at their children, at their grandchildren, and they realized the only way they could save them was to save you and me, or whoever's targeted, not you, but people like me. So they went to war for people they didn't even know, and they risked their lives to do it. And many have paid the ultimate sacrifice. They've been killed. So we owe a great deal of gratitude to these scientists like Dr. Robert Duncan and Dr. Eric Karlstrom and others who have risked everything to try to expose this insidious evil that's will soon permeate every facet of society.
Right.
The mind soul.
Oh yeah. It's coming down the tracks. You see, it's already ready. They are doing R&D still. They'll keep working on it.
Artificial life.
That's right. Correct. Yeah.
So people don't realize that. I mean, these remote neural networks, these conscious supercomputers, Jeff, they have a life of their own. They have a will, intellect, emotion of their own. They're artificial life. They're not artificial intelligence.
So okay, you just said something there. What are they? If they're not AI, what are they?
AI is based on mathematical algorithms. They abandoned the math about 25 years ago. They realized that
long ago. So the AI thing is the AI thing, Brian, is misdirection. That's what you're saying. A lot of it, chattering AI.
Well, they use three methods of deception. They use disinformation, misinformation, and misdirection. That's their main three methods of deception.
Say those three again. Say one more. Say those again, please.
The three main methods they use with media programming, the internet, radio, etc., are disinformation, which are lies, misinformation, which are half-truths, and then misdirection tactics, which are designed to prevent a credible discussion of the issues. So it's much easier to spot a lie than it is a half-truth, and so they preempt the facts, basically. They've weaponized information systems. They've weaponized terminology like conspiracy theorist, and they basically are preempting the facts. But with their technology is designed to deceive and to manipulate, and not just targeting the daily motives.
Technology is designed to deceive and manipulate. Technology is designed to remember that. Yeah. Okay.
Deception and manipulation, that's it. I mean, if you wanted to break mind control technologies of the CIA and the Department of Defense down in one sentence, you could say it this way. Mind control technologies of the CIA and Department of Defense are a deadly game of deception and manipulation, nothing more. And I want to reemphasize those last two words, nothing more. It is a deadly game. Hyper game theory and other mathematical models. Organized stalking, they use the Occam razor principle. The Occam razor principle basically states that the simplest answer is always the truth, the simplest explanation is always the best explanation. So in order to discredit anyone, including you and me, all they have to do, all the organized stalkers have to do, the surveillance teams, all they have to do is engage in a sufficiently complex scheme of harassment. And because the more complicated the truth, the less the likelihood of belief by the ordinary person, then the complexity of the harassment itself will generally be enough to cause most people to turn away and disbelieve. That's deception and manipulation. It's called the Occam razor principle.
Yeah.
And there are many other models and principles they're using. But yeah, deception and manipulation.
Some people ask, where can I go? Where's a safe place to go? Where can I run to?
I've been all around the world.
Yeah.
I've been, the only continents I haven't been to are Antarctica and Africa. And the only reason I didn't flee to Africa is because, my passport had an African stamp, and I would have hell on earth trying to get through any Asian country.
I see.
Because the diseases that were breaking out. But I was in Beijing, China, I was all through Southeast Asia, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, all through, I was in the Middle East, different Arab countries. I was in Israel, been into Southern Europe, into Rome, Central Europe, Germany, France, Spain, and Western Europe, been up into Northern Europe, into Scandinavia. I was all the way up into Iceland, right below the Arctic Circle. Been to Russia, St. Petersburg, Russia 3 times, Moscow once, down into Central America and South America. I was heavily stalked, attacked by organized stalkers with machetes. I could show you some of the video. With deadly weapons. They came after me with machetes in Central America, and they beat me up in Ecuador. The Ecuadorian intelligentsia had the organized stalkers attack me and put me in the hospital in Ecuador. So Central and South America, been everywhere, basically, except Africa and Antarctica. Basically, you must choose. I've been to Serbia, been down into the Balkans. I used to work for the Department of Defense in Kosovo.
Yeah.
Poland, into Eastern Europe, just been all over. And I can tell you that if you're going to flee, it's called strategic relocation. It's actually a defense term.
Right.
Strategic relocation. If you're going to flee in the Western Hemisphere, there are really only 4 options. You have to go somewhere where the Americans aren't trusted. And because the Americans aren't trusted in those countries, it translates. They have to be more careful. And the fact that the Americans have to be more careful in the countries which they're not trusted, translates into a better quality of life for the targeted individual. So basically, there are only 4 options in the Western Hemisphere, and that's Ecuador, Nicaragua, Bolivia, and Cuba. The safest is Cuba. I was in Havana 3 times. I was never attacked with organized stalking in Havana, although it was clearly followed, and they targeted my internet while I was on the Cuban computers. They were watching my every move and disrupted my internet on 2 different occasions in Havana. But in the Western Hemisphere, Cuba is the safest option. If you can minimize the organized stalking, the street theater, which their technology is dependent upon, forcing the victim to constantly respond to these mind games, then you can stop playing the game, and you can slow down their technology. Ecuador, and then Nicaragua and Bolivia are your only options in the Western Hemisphere. The Americans have to be more careful in those countries. They can still target you and will, but because they have to be more careful, it translates into a better quality of life for the victim.
Interesting.
In Europe, there are only 2 options, really. If you don't include Russia, obviously Russia is an option. But the Russians have never been a trustworthy bunch. And I'll explain in just a second how I know that. But basically, Serbia I was in Serbia twice, in the capital of Serbia. Can't remember the capital. I was there twice. Starts with a B. Anyway, it'll come to me in just a second.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, the capital of Serbia. I was there, and Belgrade. And
That's it.
There was almost no organized stalking, but directed energy attacks happened. And I was in Russia. The only place they stopped attacking me was Russia. And when they attacked me the first trip into St. Petersburg, I cried out on social media that it was happening, and the Americans stopped. But the Russians wouldn't help me. And so the Russians had the police escort me to the airport. So I had to sit in a Russian police station all night and see them beat the crap out of two guys, two prisoners. And realized the safest thing I could do was just be quiet and mind my own business in this Russian police station in St. Petersburg. It was the dead of winter in February. Well, as I'm sitting there on this bench in this police station in Russia, suddenly I hear this audible sound, B2K, says, hello.
No kidding.
Well,
We're here.
I wasn't going to tell the Russians. I wasn't going to tell them that they were using this technology on me. But
That's funny.
The Russians knew because I had contacted the FSB. The Russians knew. FSB is the KGB. They just renamed it.
Sure.
So they contacted me. FSB contacted me. They sent me paperwork, but it was only after I'd gotten out of the country. So the FSB did respond to me, but it was too late to help me. I was in and out my third trip pretty quickly.
Got it.
Escorted by the Russian police to the airport.
All right.
That's the only country the attack stopped in.
Interesting.
China and Beijing, there was no organized stalking at all, but there were directed energy attacks continued. In Russia, everything stopped.
Sounds like satellites. Brian, thank you for being here. This has been fascinating, and give my best to Eric, and we'll talk to you again. Good luck, and stay safe, all right?
You too, Jeff. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you, Brian. That's our program tonight. Be well, take care, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, guys, it's finished. I'll do the part 2 tomorrow, guys. It's already 3 a.m. here in Sydney, Australia. So, thanks, guys, and happy holidays. Thank you. Good night.